suggests that in December 2015, 30 Georgians who were being treated for hepatitis C died, seemingly 27 of them on the same day. Kulacz links this to a US-built laboratory in Tbilisi. But is there any truth to this?
They weren't giving the patients names. They didn't list their names in the bio. It was kind of like almost like a Nazi prison camp in this lab where they were just giving the patients numbers. That's all they got were numbers, and they were just keeping track of what happened.
So there's a contact name on this document, Georgi Hatilishvili. We're on our way to meet him. So these are real documents, and this is your name.
Yeah, that's my name.
Mr. Kulacz claims that these documents indicate that with US drugs, experiments will be conducted on humans. Is that right?
Of course, it was not. The whole world knew this program. It was to eliminate hepatitis C in Georgia. It's strange that Mr. Kulacz showed this to people, claiming that it is kind of experiments, because the whole world is treating with this kind of drugs.
But the claim is that in December 2015, 30 Georgians died who were receiving medicine, and apparently 27 on one day.
It's not on one day. It's kind of statistical information. This is amount of people dead or had adverse event in 1 month. The reason people was dying on this project was because at first we tried to cure the high liver damaged people, but 36,000 people were cured, and maybe 200 of them were dead and had adverse events.
Is there any element of truth in what Mr. Kulacz says about this?
No, definitely not. Yeah.
He's just making it up out of nowhere.
It's a lie, yeah. Of course, it's a lie.
Практически одномоментная гибель большого числа добровольцев дает основание полагать, что в центре Лугара под видом лечения была проведена оценка высокотоксичного химиката либо биологического агента.
Через 400 метров. Держитесь левее.
Russia claims that they have violet. This guy kind of looks
So here
like
we are.
Peter
This is the
Daszak from
National
behind.
Centre for Disease Control, which deals in public health protection for Georgians. And in this complex is the so-called Richard Lugar Research Centre. That's what Russian state media have dubbed the laboratory of death. Now, we've been given access here, so we can see for ourselves.
And this is like, they go, we allowed access to the lab, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing going on here that was out of the ordinary. And of course, this was
We
after
are
all the
not treating
Bilyana's
here
work.
patients.
And they
We are not
cleaned up
making
the
here in
mess.
Georgia the clinical trials of this drug, because this drug is already known drug. This is the public health and high-level research institution. Nothing to do with biological weapons.
Another claim by Moscow is that there is some link between your laboratory and these US patents for drones to spread specially infected mosquitoes to attack an enemy.
Now, I've done research into those as well, and the mosquitoes. It's called gene drive therapy. They manipulate the mosquito through gene therapy, and then that mosquito has kids, and those kids take on the effects. It's pretty much eugenics. Those kids take on the effects of the genetically modified mosquitoes, and those mosquitoes have kids, and then next thing you know, a couple family lines away from the start, every mosquito in the group is almost genetically modified. And they were definitely doing this work in Georgia, and they just announced that they're dumping 2.4 billion genetically modified mosquitoes in Florida and California this spring. So this is all this work, and Bill Gates has funded this work, and Michael Callahan was involved in it. DARPA was involved, so it has the United States Department of Defense all over this mosquito gene drive therapy research.
Where's the evidence that we are doing here this? Can they show us the evidence?
Watch neighborhoodnewsstudio.com, but I got the evidence.
That the Georgia is somewhere here dimension?
U.S. patents its toxic mosquito drone exist.
Нового здания полностью отведены
2 floors of the new building have been fully assigned to the U.S. Army. Talking about the Luger lab. We toured the new building from the bottom.
Maybe we are storing somewhere. Sadarian, where's the American soldiers here?
This is like if I was like running a drug dealing network out of my house, and I got word on the street, some news was reporting that what I was doing was starting to leak out, and I clean up my house, I kick everyone out that looks shady and shouldn't be there, and I make it look into a normal living situation. So when the police come knocking on the door, the news reporters come knocking, I'm like, what drugs? Everything's cleaned up around here. And this is pretty much what the Luger lab is doing with the BBC. Some U.S. Army medical researchers do work here. What does the
Those
US
claims
government do?
coming out of Russia are complete nonsense. They are disinformation.
Why do you think this is happening now?
So it is our belief that Russia is spreading disinformation about subjects such as the Luger Center in order to divert attention from their own bad behavior and create smokescreen for what they are doing.
The thing about disinformation, fake news, is that a lot of it sounds plausible until you stop and start picking apart what you're being told. And this story, as Moscow has been telling it, is factually incorrect. As we've seen, there were no experiments on.
Now we've seen since Trump took office in 2000s, even before he took office, while he was running against Hillary, they just hit him with Russian disinformation. We've been hit with the Russians attacking our elections. They've blamed everything on the Russians since Trump entered the public zeitgeist. And this is just par for the course. This is what they do. If the Russians could have 100% proof of some illegal actions going on, and they would just call it disinformation and move on, because we all know Putin's KGB, he's a mobster, and he can't be trusted. So they rely on that narrative.
Humans. What there was a national program to tackle hepatitis C in Georgia using standard approved drugs. And 2 floors of that building we were in had not been given over to the American military as had been claimed. What's more, the lab has invited the Russians and the World Health Organization to come and take a look round. They say they have nothing to hide.
They invite the World Health Organization. Oh, like you guys weren't the ones funding the research? Like you guys aren't in the global elites, the World Bank Group? Like you guys aren't in their back pocket? Moscow, Russia. Russia refused to join a peer review of the Luger lab. Maria Zakharova, Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson. You should inspect it, not visit it. There's a difference. We're not interested in visiting it like a museum excursion.
Так вот, новые
The new
факты,
facts
а они
presented
были
at Mr.
приведены 11 сентября
Giordesi's news
на
conference
пресс-конференции, ставят
again
вопрос
raised
об
questions
истинных
about
целях
the
и
U.S.
задачах
military's
американских
true aims and
военных в
objectives in
Грузии.
Georgia.
You say these were facts. These are not facts. These are factually incorrect. Mr. Giorgadze says that experiments were conducted on humans. But if you look at the evidence, the so-called evidence he has provided, there is no proof at all.
If you consider like coming out with a new experimental therapeutic, like if there's a new disease outbreak and you have a therapeutic that's never been tested on human patients before, that would be considered a human experiment, buddy.
Of any experiments. on
Знаете,
people.
если у вас сейчас
Just like the
нет
mRNA vaccine. You know if there's no
доказательств, это
evidence
не
right
значит,
now,
что
but
их не
doesn't mean that
вообще.
no
Вы
evidence
согласны?
exists, right? But what about the source of the story? Igor Giordesi agreed to meet us and answer the questions.
Experiments on people. Your website says that this document.
So this gentleman was he worked in the lab, or he was involved in the labs to some extent, and he was like the Russian diplomat.
proves that drugs which had not been clinically approved
I wonder if he
were
knew
given to Georgian citizens. It says that on the website.
Stovall.
But these drugs had been clinically approved.
То, что вы читали на
Sergei
сайте,
Skripal.
это
What you
заключение
read on the
тех,
website
кто
is a conclusion
анализировал.
of the revised
Я это еще не
documents. I haven't
озвучивал
said
и не
that.
озвучиваю.
Analyzed
But do you
documents.
have evidence that drugs which had not been clinically approved were given to Georgian patients?
Нет,
No, I
у
don't
меня
have any
нет
desire
вообще
whatsoever to prove
никакого
anything.
желания что-то доказывать. Я ставлю
I'm
вопрос.
asking a
Вы
question and you're
отвечаете.
telling me
Вот
this
сейчас вы
doesn't
ответили,
prove
сказали,
anything.
что это ничего не доказывает. Хорошо?
Fine, we'll put this
Давайте
interview on our
мы вот
website after
наше
you've
интервью
broadcast
мы
it.
повесим на сайт после того, как вы его
And
передадите
we'll see
у
there's one
себя.
side that
И
says
мы
this
будем
proof and the
понимать,
other
что
side
есть
that
одна
it
сторона,
isn't.
которая говорит доказывает, вторая.
This is years later, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2022 now. This was in 2018, 2019. Guess what's coming to fruition? That who's right in this interview? Oh, it was the Russian guy that seemed to be right in the end.
Нет.
Is this not simply, in a
can
word,
comment there.
disinformation?
Не знаю.
I don't know.
Не
I don't
знаю.
know.
What has struck me most, I think, about the story of the lab is that those who deal in disinformation seem to feel under no obligation at all to back up their allegations, their stories, with hard evidence. It's like they've said it, it's out there, job done. And when you say to them, just a minute, there's no proof, they say, well, that doesn't mean it's not true. It's as if they're creating a whole alternative reality to spread confusion. And the result is that the line between fact.
They gave a bunch of proof. They gave facts. They had the maps with the mosquitoes. They had the drones. They had the sick hospital patients. And yet, the one side just considered us a liar. And we're still stuck in the same
Fiction
position.
is increasingly blurred.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was just a BBC disinformation campaign about the Luger lab in Georgia. And like I said before, that was all partly set up through Obama, Sam Nunn, Luger, the whole shebang.
We had some intro clips ready, but I see a great investigative journalist in the green room right now who maybe give us a thumbs up if you want to come on early. George, if you're there in the green room, George, and you want to come on early, we can start this thing right now. Just say hey, real quick. I think Andy wants to play your theme song first.
I'm gonna play the George Webb intro before we get George Webb in
Okay,
here.
he's in there though. Yeah, good.
So sit tight, ladies and gentlemen. After the short break, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, live from the Ukrainian border, George Webb will be joining us next.